Welcome back on Delmod. Today I want to propose you a video about tip trick about how to create a coffin based on papercard. This is a way to use a really cheap material to create a coffin of the size that you want, so you can create and adjust it as you like, and at the same time a way to bring you something that I'll use as a referral for other videos in the future that are based on such one, so that I can use these in a way that you can have a referral and so have a specific video that you can go to see about and have something to relate about. The essentials are some paper card, a pen and a ruler to draw the lines on the paper card itself. One example of how you can create a coffin is to take a ruler and a pen and design a rectangular shape that it's the internal one. So you have to take note about the dimension that you are needed, because this it will be the internal referring about the dimension, the size of your coffin. So you have to pay attention about this. And after that you attract this, you start creating based on the proportion and the dimension that you thought about, the part about the, I can say, diagonal part, because it's not only a rectangular this coffin. So you start to create all the sides that you need, so the shape about the coffin, the base one, and only after that you create such base shapes that, so you have to pay attention about how big you want that there is. Then only after this you can begin to design the size, so the parts that it will be then, I can say, wings that you can create then in the way that you can flip them and create the ones that will be the part that are the heights of the coffin itself. So you have to pay attention about what you want. Remember anyway that you have to create also the wings. So pay attention, because then to connect each part together you need also to create such one, and it will be important to understand where go to cut such things, because the rectangular parts that are the lateral sides of the coffin it will be easy, but you have to put attention about the cutting afterward, because you need to create in the way that you have a sort of grip so that you can connect each part better. So this is an important part about the plane, and this is an example of my first try about this. Another way to realize such coffin is to use a yet ready coffin. For example, in this case I used one that it comes from the black coach, the old model one, and design the contour about it so that you have a referral about. This is a way that you can use. Then you track in the middle the way that you can have the idea of where to put the wings that you'll use about to create the depth of the coffin itself. So it's the same as we've seen before, but it changed the base itself. So before I used a proportion based on my idea, here I'm used a referral physical one about, but once that you learned how to create and how it is the proportion, it's not anymore a problem. So this it's a step that you have to think about the part of the size of the depth. It's up to you decide how thick you want that this coffin it is, so it's up to you decide what you want to do. Anyway, the procedure up here it's the same as we've seen before, simply it changes in the way that you want to analyze and realize such depth. So you have only to understand that the project it's based on mathematical proportion about this one. So in the case that you want to realize such things, it's up to you decide on how you want it this big. And then you go to cut this coffin. You can cut without any problem the contour around, because it's everything that you need. In this case, take your time and try to be quite precise when you go to cut, because you need a bit of, I can say, accurate about this. And after you have done this, you have to prepare the part about the wings. So pay attention where you go to cut, because you need that you cut so that you have the wings, but at the same time you don't make that the wings are separated from the other parts. So pay attention about such steps so that you can have the wings working good. And then we only need to bend the lateral parts so that we can create the thickness of the coffin itself. Eventually you can use also the ruler as helping so that you can create a complete bend on the line that you tracked, so that you have the referral. so it's eventually an option that you can use. And remember that you have also to bend a little the wings on the lateral parts, so that then they can be used to connect all the sides together. Then a little trick is to cut some strips of scotch so that we have the right size that we need about reinforcing the wings on the lateral parts. And then you use the scotch to connect the two lateral sides thanks to the wing that you create. So pay attention on how to position it. You can start from the internal part or the external part as you like, but I suggest you from the internal part. And then you use so that you can block the sides. To reinforce the structure, I suggest you to use again the trick about the strips of scotch, but in this case about using to connect the lateral parts. In such a way you reinforce the option that you have about the wings and the structure itself, because it's much more solid in such a way. Obviously it's up to you to decide how much it has to be thick, these parts, but you don't have too many problems, so that you can really make that it's easier to connect everything in such a way. And here we can see the comparison of the one that I designed from the one that I have yet, so that you can understand that it's a bit bigger because I use the external parts as internal model, so it's obvious. And then I'll make you see also the other one that I realized at the beginning, so you can see the difference of the one that I created without having a referral and the one referral. And then if eventually you need the lead for your coffin, you can use for the one that you have the referral the same way, so you take the part of the lead of the coffin original one that you have and you go to design the around part, or eventually you design based on the coffin that you created. About the thickness of such lead, it's up to you decide what you want to realize, because it can be done in different size and with different designs. So eventually you can try to design around the one that you have yet realized something else, so another I can say strata of it, so that you can use it and combine them together. It's up to you decide if it's worth, because in such a way you can create some different design to use, so it can be an option. And for the details, it's now the moment for the reveal or PVA. To connect the parts related about the paper cards, I prefer to use some PVA because I find it much better about the grip and safer about how to manipulate and so on, because I needed to move it quite closer, so I don't want that it make a mess with my hands. If you remember at the beginning, I used some scotch to connect the different parts. So in this way, I decided to use then some strip of paper so that I can reinforce the internal and external part, so that I have also a grip about the color. So in such a way, I make the coffin itself more solid, thicker, so that it says a bit better about it, but it's depending about the paper card and the thickness about it that you are going to use. And also let me have better grip about painting such options, such models, so I think that it's better in such way. And here the half finished model, so here we can see the final result, so that we can adjust, we can reinforce it with other pieces of paper and so on based on what we need. And this is perfect about the dimension of a future project that I have in mind. An interesting effect that you can realize is the wood effect, using some strips, thin strips about paper cards and gluing using the PVA in the external and internal part, so that you can create not uniform one, and so creating a sort of cheap version about the coffin that it can be quite interesting as a variant about suboption for the coffins. So this is my wood version of the coffin. It's not something that I planned beforehand, but something that I decided to realize while I was progressing in doing such work. So I think that it's also a way to make you understand that you don't have necessarily to think about having everything planned, but you can also follow the idea that you have while you are doing something. So remember about such things eventually. So from Dynamod, it's everything. I invite you to put a like on this video, to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell, and to comment this video if you are interested in something about this video or you want to suggest me some arguments for other videos. I hope to see you again to the next time.